It is Ryan Seacrest here. Everybody needs some variety in life. That's what I love about Chumba Casino. They know how to keep things fresh and exciting. All their games are free to play. Like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire. You can claim free daily login bonuses, too. And they release new games every week. So spice things up with ChumbaCasino.com now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
When we started writing our thoughts down on paper, it opened up endless possibilities. Ideas could grow beyond the borders of the mind, and it changed the world. Somewhere along the way, we lost touch with paper, distracted by devices made for every purpose except for thinking and focus. On edge, waiting for the next notification. But what if new technology didn't pull us away from paper, but brought us closer to it? Listen. That's not paper. It's the sound of the new Remarkable Paper Pro, rewriting the future. A paper tablet with a true color ink display, gentle reading light, and unheard of tactility. With digital features for taking notes, thinking, and organizing, without any distractions. Paper is about to change the world again. Get your paper tablet at remarkable.com today.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Rufino's on Highland Road, welcome to the Friday edition, pre-Christmas edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Max Gotro. In the spirit of giving, we gave Jimmy Ott the day off. Also the spirit of peace and harmony. Jimmy's a little under the weather today, and I know he wanted to do today's show because today's show's the last Friday before Christmas. We always have a nice time in here. Everybody's in a festive mood. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the restaurant behind us. Expecting a nice crowd today. Certainly a lot of people coming in to, have a nice meal, watch the games. We've got games starting here in just a second. Real quick, if you want to play along with us, we're on Ohio. Bobcats. -6.5 is what we're showing, Max. Let's give the information we got on that game. So before we get into the open here a little bit, as far as transfer portal and whatnot.
Yeah, so both coaches are out. Jacksonville State's Rich Rodriguez obviously took the job at West Virginia. He's calling the offense, so that's a big loss for them. Tim Albin left Ohio to go to Charlotte. Their OC, Brian Smith, serving in the interim. He's now been elevated to head coach, so that's a bit of a boost for them. This is their current head coach who's now coaching the team. But three important opt-outs for the Jacksonville State defense. Zachariah Poyser, their starting safety, signed with Miami. And then two starting members as well. Reginald Hughes, a linebacker, was their best edge rusher, signed with Colorado. And their starting corner, Jabari Mack, will not play in this game. They do have some other players in the portal, but they have not opted out for this game, unless we see some graphic on the TV right now, which shows they are out, which always can happen.
Yeah, Poyser, LSU actually made a run at Poyser before he went to Miami. All I'm going to tell you is, if you're watching bowl games today, even playoff games over the next couple of days, watch all the safeties. One of them could end up in the transfer portal after their season. And if they're a safety, LSU might take a look. Just, trust me on this one. Watch all. Somebody might have whispered that in my ear. Man. Just keep an eye on the safety. We got Tulane in Florida at 2:30. Of course, no Damian Mensah for Tulane. He's transferred out. He's on his way to Duke. And then tonight in South Bend, Indiana and Notre Dame. First of the 4 playoff games of the weekend. If you saw some of the pictures this morning, snow in South Bend this morning. It's not supposed to snow, at least not very much if it does tonight at kickoff, but 28 degrees. And, well, it's I was trying to come up with – I was listening to the morning show this morning, and Jacob said, he says, this isn't even little brother, for Notre Dame. Indiana's been an afterthought in football forever. I mean, there's – it's not even like a Oklahoma State kind of thing. This isn't little brother. This is I think he says your fourth cousin that you didn't even know was related to you. I was trying to think of a comparison to what would this be for LSU if LSU were hosting a playoff game at Tiger Stadium tonight for it to compare to this. And I came up with Tulane. Mm-hmm. What would happen if LSU were playing this is not as far-fetched as it sounds. Tulane was right there in the middle of the Group of Five discussion for the playoffs all year. They were never in the driver's seat. Had they beaten either Kansas State or Oklahoma, they might have been in a better shot. If Boise State had slipped up somewhere, you could have had them in the playoff. LSU, we certainly hope, is going to be a playoff team in the future. What would it be like if Tulane were coming to Tiger Stadium tonight and it wasn't just, this afterthought game? Because LSU hasn't played Tulane in what I would call a meaningful game, a really meaningful game, since probably the 60s. The 1982 game, LSU was on their way to the Orange Bowl, but they were on their way to the Orange Bowl whether they won that game or not. It's the last time Tulane won. Reggie Reginelli, anybody that was at that game or listened to that game or watched that game, Reggie Reginelli had the game of his life, and Tulane won the game. That was back when LSU and Tulane were still playing every year, and they were playing on the last day of the season. LSU hasn't played Tulane, period, since 2009. They played them every year from 2006 to 2009, and none of those games were particularly close. The one in New Orleans, LSU kind of sleptwalked through most of the first half, but none of those games were particularly close. So what if all of a sudden it was a meaningful game? I mean, we've seen LSU play Tulane in meaningful baseball games, super regionals.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
The basketball teams, neither one of them have been relevant in a while. But, so what if they were playing football tonight at Tiger Stadium and Tulane was coming in here like a touchdown underdog? What kind of reaction would you get to that game if LSU were playing Tulane in a playoff game?
5-3, it would be exciting. I guess the only difference, I see a lot of similarities in your comparison here. Indiana and Notre Dame used to play each other every year way back in 1958. Before then, so it's like 40 years down the road if LSU to play Tulane. But absolutely, 23-5. That's Notre Dame's all-time record against Indiana head-to-head. So
I'm surprised Indiana's won 5. You got to go back to the 30s probably.
Their last win was in 1950, and then they had a couple wins in the 1900s. So it's been a long time.
They played Newt Rockne. Probably that wasn't even in the 50s. That was after Rockne. Anyway, something to think about. What do you make of the snow? And the weather conditions for tonight?
Yeah, I've been looking at the forecast. I saw
you're our weather guy.
Yeah, I saw Kirk Herbstreit walking Peter this morning. There was a lot of snow on the ground, but I imagine they'd have that cleared out for the game, at least on the field. Notre Dame has a turf field, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's artificial turf on that field, so it won't be as slippery as may be expected. But if there's any flurries, which there is a little bit of a possibility of some flurries, that could make the ground just a little bit more slippery. Footing could be harder. Tackling could be harder. So this is not a type of game where you look for a real low-scoring game unless the cold really affects the offenses. But it's not like there's going to be, a foot of snow on the ground really slowing down this game.
I've seen games with we've cited this game a number of times. The Lions and the Eagles played a game in about a foot and a half of snow in Philadelphia 15 years ago, something like that. And the first half, they couldn't even kick extra points. They couldn't even get the ball on the ground to kick extra points. And in the second half, they scored like 50 points. So you just say, oh, well, the weather's lousy, bet the under blind. That's not necessarily the case.
I actually find if there's a little bit of snow, just like a small little layer of snow on the ground, it can actually be better for overs just because it's harder to tackle. The defense is later to react, and that could be a problem. But no real wind as well. The wind's supposed to die down as the day progresses.
Chris Massaro is with us. Paul Stone. We've got his opinion on one of the games today. Bruce Marshall, Troy Macker also with us today. So we have a lot of different opinions on the playoff games. Last night, the Chargers beat the Broncos 34-27. It was a nice comeback in the second half for the Chargers, but all anybody wants to talk about, it seems like, is the free kick. If you watched last night's game at the end of the first half, it's a little-known rule that you can have a free kick if you get the ball. So, look, I knew this rule. Okay, let me tell you how I knew this rule, Max. I went to school with a guy named Boyd Snellgrove. He was our quarterback when I was a freshman. And Boyd was a very proficient drop kicker of the football. He practiced it all the time. I have no idea why, but he could drop kick a football somewhere between, I would say, 25 and 30, 35 yards. He could do it, and it was a legal play, but nobody did it. So he begged the coach, please let me kick an extra point, drop kick in the ball, which Doug Flutie later did in an NFL game. Coach wouldn't let him do it. So while he was researching whether that was a fair play or a legal play or not, he came upon this rule. And he and his brother Chad, who's a close personal friend of mine, graduated with him, have been waiting for this play forever. So he's like, how does it line up? Where does the other team line up? Are they on the line of scrimmage? Are they on the field at all? What do they do? Can you kick it off of a tee? Do you have to have somebody hold it? What are the specs on this rule? So we finally got to see the play last night. And Dicker makes his 57-yarder and made it with some room to spare. Denver lined up in what I would call a normal kickoff return formation based on the old kickoff rules, not the new one. And they just stood there. And Dicker had all day to get himself straight, get himself right, and he drilled this thing. Good for him. First one since the 70s in the NFL. How many people you think last night I don't know the rule? You knew the rule because you are a self-professed
I'm a nerd on the fair catch kick.
Rules nerd?
Yeah, well, just this one specifically. I know there's a Wikipedia entry on the fair catch kick. It's got all, I believe it's now 27 recorded attempts on this. This is the 7th completed in known history, but as you said, the first one since the 70s. I've always wanted to see like a 72-yarder because there was a 74-yard fair catch kick attempted before, and I wondered how that would go down in the field goal record books, right? Does it count as just a normal field goal? You got to put an asterisk.
You got to put an asterisk, I would think, without a rush.
But there was one in 1979, a 74-yard attempt. It was the longest field goal attempt on record until 2008, when I believe Janikowski attempted one from just an ungodly distance. But the last one that was even attempted was a game in London at the end of the first half. Joey Sly with the Panthers tried a 60-yarder and missed. So it's been a while.
Bruce Marshall, who is noted historian on pretty much everything. He's our own human Wikipedia kind of deal. Sent us some clips today of some of the ones that have happened in NFL history. For Vince Lombardi, when he was with Washington. He coached 1 year in Washington before he passed away. Tried one in 1969, but missed that one from 56 yards out. There was one on a Thanksgiving Day game between Detroit and the Colts in 1965. The game was tied, and the Colts had a chance. No, was it the Colts or the Lions? The Lions had a chance to try one at the end of the game. The coach didn't, and all of the media took him to task because apparently this was somewhat more common, according to Bruce, in the 1960s than it was, So you don't see that very often. You're watching a football game, it's like, man, I've never seen that before. Last night, you got one of those.
There were 10 attempts between 1964 and 1970, including one by the New Orleans Saints and Tom Dempsey, who tried a 57-yarder back in 1969.
And, of course, Dempsey had the record forever, the real record from 63 yards. That stood for about 4 decades, I believe, from the old Tulane Stadium where straight-on kicker, and it just barely made it over the crossbar. All right, I think we've nerded out enough with the free kick with the free kick rule. Anyway, we're here at Ruffino's. Hope you can make it by here today. The appetizer features the Italian sausage manicotti with the Italian cheese blend and the breadcrumbs, chicken and sausage gumbo, dark roux, best stop andouille. You got to know what that means, and the Creole seasoned chicken. Chilean sea bass on the menu today, one of your entree features today. That's with toasted walnuts, the Wagyu New York strip, 14-ounce Wagyu New York strip today. And the dessert feature is Larabelle's pecan pie. And what's pecan pie without a scoop of vanilla ice cream on the top here today at Ruffino's. And, of course, if you want to get in the holiday spirit, the Yule Fashion. This is an old-fashioned with a little bit of charred vodka, and they've got the Ruffino's Old Elk they're pouring today. On a little wine, they've got the Double Diamond Cab on special today. So come by and see us here at Ruffino's on Highland Road. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
Thibodeau's store, last-minute gift ideas, going in shopping for Dad. Now, look, you're not going to be able to get it delivered in time. You can still go and shop online at thibodeaustore.com, but if you want to pick it up and bring it in for Dad, custom-made Cypress furniture, the rockers, the gliders, the swings, benches, and chairs. Huge selection of crawfish and jambalaya pots, large selection of grills, including the big green egg cookers, big selection of power tools. A lot of these things are discounted here during the month of December, power tools and hand tools. Your home improvement experts, let them walk you through any project, save you time, save you money. They're going to treat you right, and it's a lot easier than dealing with a YouTube video. 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux, their sister property, the Pierre Part Store, just recently celebrated their 113-year anniversary. So they know a little thing or two about customer service. Pierre Part Store and the Thibodeau Store, and online it's thibodeaustore.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Ruffino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, LouisianaSports.net, also 104.5ESPN.com. New Handycast with video of a good chunk of the portal class coming in for LSU, available on YouTube right now. Let's bring in Chris Massaro here from San Diego or Las Vegas. Or Chris, where you spending the holiday?
Andy, I'm in San Diego right now. I am on the red eye, though, Sunday night back to Boston to spend Christmas back in Massachusetts.
Temperature's a little different in Boston and San Diego at this time of year?
Just a tad. Today we're looking at 68, probably sunny. When I land, it's going to be 18, probably cloudy. So, yeah.
18.
A little different.
Yeah, just a touch. All right, tonight's game, we've already seen all of the snow on the ground up in South Bend, and we don't expect it to snow at game time, but they're going to have to deal with sub-freezing conditions. What do you make of the first playoff game tonight?
Well, you know what? I think even though Freeman's been there for a while, I think Kurt Cignetti has a little bit of a coaching advantage. These teams have been off for a couple weeks now, and I really think he's going to come up with something. And if you kind of look at the line movement in this game, across my board right now, we're looking at 6.5. So that's a pretty substantial move from 7.5 across the key number of 7 to 6.5. Something might be up. I'm not sure about the complete health of the Notre Dame running backs. One was wearing, Love was wearing a different brace. And so we're just not sure. You haven't seen the teams in 2 weeks. Who really knows? But I think Cignetti might have something up his sleeve, and the way the money's going on this game and the total's dropping down, it kind of favors the underdog. I grew up as a Boston College fan, so I will not be rooting for Notre Dame under any circumstances. So I will be rooting for Indiana tonight. I'm hoping for a little bit of chaos. I've listened to so many pundits over the last 2 weeks since they came out with the playoff bracket. They're almost putting every single favorite into the next round. And in a year where we've seen Arizona State and Boise get that 3 and 4 seed in buys, I just don't see a formal bracket. I can see chaos, and I feel like at least one, maybe two of these underdogs are going to win outright.
By the way, that Boston College Notre Dame game, I believe 1993, when they upset Notre Dame the week after they beat, was it Miami or Florida State?
Florida State.
Florida State. Yeah, it was the first ever game day. Yeah, that they went in there.
Yeah, it was Charlie Ward, undefeated. Florida State goes into Notre Dame, and then the following weekend, Boston College won on a walk-off field goal by David Gordon, and they gave Florida State the national championship, even though they lost to Notre Dame 2 weeks before.
The poster game for situational handicapping, right? Catch them the week after that monster win and BC went in there and kicked a field goal at the gun, I believe, to beat them. All right, what about the other games, the other three playoff games? I know you said you got some plays in, but these are harder games to handicap tomorrow. What do you think of the three?
I did play Tennessee earlier. I actually had a 7.5 with a weak juice. I actually bought it up to 8 when it first came out. I took a little on the money line. That I'm not liking as much now because everyone is kind of talking about Tennessee. If there's going to be one upset, that's the one. But today, again, the line finally came off at 7.5, and we're at a 7 across the board. So I just feel like these teams, take the names away. Everyone's still thinking, SMU is an AAC team, and Indiana's the old Indiana. Just take the names away, and if you look at it, it's a lot of points in all 4 of the games. These are good teams. They've made it this far. They've had good quarterback play, or good defenses, or good offensive lines. I mean, Tennessee's got a great defensive line. Ohio State's got the weak offensive line. 7 or 7.5 points seems like a lot. It's at Ohio State, but we've heard what's going on with Day. Tennessee travels well. There's going to be fans there. I just feel like if you're going to play these games, you kind of have to take the points. Texas hasn't been dominant all year. How are you going to lay almost 2 touchdowns with a Quinn Ewers offense? And there's rumors that Quinn Ewers is going to Oregon maybe next year for $4 million. I mean, is that in the back of his mind? Are they going to, if he starts slow, they're going to put Arch Manning in? I just think there's too many variables to be laying these big numbers when I think these teams all through the year are proving they're decent teams. Yes, Indiana had a weak schedule. Yes, SMU had a weak schedule. But, I mean, that's still a lot of points against offenses that aren't that great. Penn State, Ohio State, Texas. These aren't like the U offenses from back in the 80s and 90s. They're just kind of plotting, running offenses where they might not cover these big numbers.
You buy into the Ryan Day's really in trouble if he loses this game?
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Oh, if he loses this game, the only reason that he might stick around is they can't afford to pay the buyout and pay all these players. I mean, what's going on in college football now, and obviously you guys must be a little shook about it too, is that kids aren't just going to go to the school because of the tradition of, say, LSU or Alabama or in the SEC. They got to pay. It's whoever pays the most. And I know Day has a huge buyout, and they're already paying a bunch of big-time players to come there. So maybe the buyout saves them. But I've heard every single big Ohio State fan and backer that says they're gonna, pack up his bags and get him on the truck out if they lose this game. So I think he is kind of coaching for his job.
And I think you're probably right, and I still find it hard to believe. The guy's 66-10. He's 46-5 in conference play, and not for nothing. But taking over for Urban Meyer, I mean, forget about Urban Meyer's other shenanigans. The guy won 3 national championships. We've seen what Kalen DeBoer had to deal with taking over for Nick Saban. Meyer's not Saban, but he's like the next closest thing that we've got in college football that was still coaching. He took over for him. It was seamless. And, he's won playoff games. He's won a Rose Bowl. He's won the conference title a couple of times. And they're going to just jettison him because he lost to Michigan 4 years in a row.
Yeah, well, another thing is who are you going to replace him with? I mean, they want the Ohio State people and their brand kind of so snooty that they want an Ohio guy, someone that went to Ohio State. Maybe Mike Vrabel's the guy in waiting, but he might be in waiting for the Patriots job if they fire Mayo. So I'm not sure. Like, there's not that many guys that are just plug and play. Where, like you said, Day came in, it was pretty seamless. They kept winning. They went to championships. They went to the playoff. Who are they going to replace it with? There's not many guys that are just sitting out there waiting to be the coach of Ohio State.
Chris, let's take a look at the NFL. You got a pick for Sunday that you like.
Yeah, I got a couple of games I could just run through real quick, but I really like the Giants. I know it sounds crazy, but I just don't understand how you could just plug in Michael Penix. If he was so good earlier, they would have played him against the Raiders or they would have played him against Minnesota after Kirk Cousins' disastrous performance against the Chargers, and then it got even worse against Minnesota. Why wouldn't they have just popped him in before? There was a couple guys I heard that said he wasn't even getting the game plan. This guy is not a mobile. Everyone says, oh, he's more mobile than Kirk Cousins. He is not mobile. He does not run. He's had the two torn ACLs. So I think just throwing a rookie quarterback in, I get it. It's against the Giants. But laying 8.5 points or 9 points with a team that was a complete train wreck Monday night against the Raiders now in a short week, I'm going to take the Giants. I really like that play. I also like Washington at home against Philly, getting the 3.5. I felt like Washington outplayed them the first game. Saquon Barkley kind of got loose in the second half. I like Washington plus the 3.5. A couple other ones I'd give you. The Patriots at Buffalo. I'm going to lay the big number with Buffalo. Patriots have played 7 games on the road, 8 games on the road this year. They've yet to reach above 19 points. 16-3, 13-16, 17. They had 19 in a win versus the Bears, 15-17. Good luck slowing down that Buffalo offense. I'm going to lay the points with Buffalo. And I kind of like the Rams. They get a really young defensive line going against old man Rodgers, who's not mobile at all. I think 3 is kind of a short number. It's a little bit of a tough spot for the Rams, but I still think they just have such a better team, an offense that the Jets' secondary is not going to be able to stop. So I like the Rams as well, minus the 3.
And before we let you go, college basketball, nice day tomorrow, really nice card. I know there's so much great football to watch tomorrow, but we're going to squeeze in a little college basketball. But you got to play tonight on Providence and St. John's.
Yeah, well, Rick Pitino is returning to his old stomping grounds at Providence, where he coached Friars to the 1987 Final Four. I really like this St. John's team. They're sneaky in the Ken Palm 20 offense, 12 on the defensive rating. Their pace is 45th. 25th in the last 3 games. I'm not going to lay the big number 6.5, but I am going to go over the team total on St. John's in the first half, which is 35.5, and over the team total 74.5 for the game. This Providence team is not going to let this game they're not going to let St. John's just run them out. They're going to give a maximum effort. They really need a win. But I think this game has a tendency to have a high pace and a great atmosphere in Providence with Patino coming back. I expect a high-scoring game. I'll give you one more. I do like Montana State in the FCS game tomorrow. Touchdown Tommy Millott, kid from Butte, Montana, very accurate quarterback, runs the option as well. They get the number 1 offense in FCS, number 10 defense, and they're playing the South Dakota team that got a gift last week against UC Davis. The kid on UC Davis had 5 interceptions and a fumble, 6 turnovers, and they South Dakota barely even won the game. So I'm going to lay the 8 points with Montana State as well in the FCS semifinal.
Like that St. John's Providence game tonight, it probably kind of under the radar a little bit because of the college football playoff game. That Providence team in '87 at Final Four was in New Orleans, and his point guard was Billy Donovan. If you remember, I know you remember that. Yeah, absolutely. Chris, we always appreciate your time. Have a wonderful holiday and safe travels back and forth across the country, and we'll look forward to checking with you after the Christmas break.
All right, thanks, guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Chris Massaro out in San Diego. All right, what is the name of this bowl?
Cure Bowl.
The what?
This is the Cure Bowl.
The Cure Bowl. Okay, I didn't even know we were sick. The Cure Bowl is scoreless about halfway through quarter number 1. That's in Orlando. We'll take a break, come back and check in with Troy Macker up at Bet Rivers. He's got an explanation on this line, dipping below the key number of 7 here in the first playoff game. That's next here from Rufino's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. 3 best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
And we return here at Rufino's. Jimmy a little under the weather today, so we're going to give him the day off. Got to get him healthy for the playoff weekend. While we were at break, Ohio did score, so it's 7-0 Bobcats. About 5 minutes to go in quarter number 1. Let's bring in Troy Macker. Troy, happy holidays. How are you?
Thanks for having me on again. I am, I've spent the entire week moving out of my house into my in-laws' house as a new house gets ready. So
wow.
Basically the most stressful week of your life right before Christmas with 2 little ones. I'm sore, and I hope I die in the house I'm about to move into because I'm never moving ever again.
Those are the most common words spoken whenever you move. I've had to move in a long, long time, and when you do it, you say, hey, "That's it. I'm going to be here." Is your mother-in-law going to let you watch the games tomorrow? Because tomorrow's a pretty big football day.
Yes, and luckily it's a big house with plenty of rooms and plenty of TVs. So enough rooms and TVs where my kids can be watching movies or shows in one room, and I can be on a large couch by myself watching sports across the board, not just college football, but it's maybe the best football game day in a very long time with the 2 high-profile NFL games as well.
I love your optimism. You actually think you're going to get to sit there and watch football all day, and your kids and your in-laws and your spouse are not going to bother you at all. Man, you are the biggest optimist I know.
Yeah, well, I have to be positive because I'm still broken down after this week of this schlepping boxes to pods and storage, and so I need to stay positive or else I'm never going to make it through the holidays.
Well, God bless. You got a big day tomorrow. Troy, what do you make of the line movement here? Indiana and Notre Dame this morning moved under a touchdown. We're showing 6.5 now at Bet Rivers. For a game that you can kind of clue us in as the volume of bets on this game, to move it past a key number with this much volume, you tell me what you make of this morning.
Yeah, I'm not surprised solely because of the early, middle, and long-term action we've taken on Indiana. I think this had to come down because, we've taken essentially twice as much money on Indiana to cover as any other play in the first round of the playoffs. And it was there, when the game was announced. The bettors have been all over Indiana to cover. And all these first-round matchups are essentially, around 7.5 or more. So I'm not surprised at all. They have to travel the least or the fewest amount of miles. They probably will have one of the better fan bases, or it will, because they're in Indiana, even though it's not a massive stadium, and I'm sure, Notre Dame people cover this entire country. But I'm not surprised solely because we've taken more money and more tickets on Indiana to cover. And frankly, Indiana money line is close to Notre Dame money line in terms of money and tickets as well. So people have been on the Hoosiers from the jump. So, I figured this number had to come down. I didn't know how much it would because Notre Dame home favorite. It's going to be inclement weather. Indiana likes to play fast and loose, and I don't know if that always plays well in really, really frigid conditions. And they've struggled against top competition, and barring the loss to Northern Illinois, Notre Dame has been excellent since then, and is what I would say top competition. And Indiana has one metric there, and they played okay against Ohio State, but certainly not great. So I think that number did have to come down, but I was wondering if it would because more people would jump on it. But this game is going to be volatile, I think. There's a ton of money, and it's going to continue to climb in the next 2 hours.
Hey, Troy, how much? We talk about moving past the key number. How much? Just by percentage, your best guess, or you may know the number exactly. How much more do you have to have in volume come in to move it past a 7 or a 3, as opposed to just moving this thing a point or a half a point on another number?
2.5, maybe 2 times 2.5. That's usually it, I would say, and it's there with Indiana. We're already in mid 6-figure handle, and which is very large for 8 hours out. But it is a standalone game. It is a unique game in the sense it's the first 12-team college football playoff game. It's also Indiana versus Notre Dame. It's a very unique rivalry game. I don't know if I call it a rivalry because they've never been, other than they share the same state, the biggest public school, the biggest private school, but it is unique in that. And the public has been all over Indiana just because of the story, how they played this year. They're one of the best teams to watch play because they're so aesthetically pleasing. And I think also, Notre Dame is a very public team, but they also can be, they can be the Goliath when they're like Duke in basketball, and people will bet on the David because we all want to see Notre Dame and Duke go down because the whole country loves them. So I'm not surprised that there's a ton of money, but I'm hesitant on whether or not Indiana can stay within a touchdown of Notre Dame.
Plus, everybody loves Lee Corso, right? You're going to root for Corso's team against Notre Dame. All right, before we get to the other playoff games this afternoon, second bowl game today is Tulane and Florida. Darian Mensah, I keep wanting to call him Damian. Darian Mensah is gone from Tulane. He's transferred to Duke. Florida finished the season on a heck of a run, beating LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State to round out the season, so they were playing good. They're a 10-point favorite in this game. Troy, where's the action here?
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back. And we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this: everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Yeah, 64% of the money's on the Green Wave to cover. That being said, 72% of the tickets are on the Gators to cover. Money line is pretty lopsided, 91% of the money and 87% of the tickets on Florida to win outright. But, over 60% of the money currently is on Tulane to cover. I I'm not sure exactly when that money came in, if it's late or early. But I think we're going to see a lot as we talk more about the remaining playoff games. I think you're going to see a lot of dogs pick to cover, whether it's on money, especially just because of the transfer portal, people opting out. The better teams not always having their heart in it when for some of these underdogs, this is their Super Bowl, so to speak. So not horribly surprised. And Tulane's been good this year, but, when you lose your starting quarterback, and Florida had really picked up the pressure and the tempo towards the end of the season, it should be interesting to see how this one plays out.
All right, let's move on to the playoffs tomorrow. First game, SMU and Penn State. Penn State about an 8.5-point choice in this one.
Yeah, and, it's interesting. I would figure that people would be all over it, from a spread perspective. But right now we got 93% of the money is on Penn State to win. That sounds about right. Only 68% of the money line tickets on Penn State to win, which is a bit more surprising. I would figure this to be 78, 80%. Maybe that is, some long shot parlays. Or it could just think that, this is a big game. And Big Game James is an ironic nickname for James Franklin. His inability to win and especially cover against top opponents, even though SMU is an underdog. They're an ACC team. They were very good this year. The one thing, people love betting the overs, right? Not in the playoffs. 53% of the money is on the over and 58% of the tickets is on the over. It's going to be frigid as hell in Happy Valley. And I'm not sure if SMU is used to that. That's one of the fun things about this playoff. It's going to be, if Northern teams are hosting, it's going to be like playing in Buffalo. And a lot of these Southern teams may not be used to that. On the spread, we got 77% of the money's on Penn State, even though 51% of the spread tickets is on SMU. So the tickets are leaning far more towards the ponies than the money, which is surprising because I think people consider this to be a pretty solid 8-point to 10-point win for Penn State.
Every time I hear Big Game James with him, I think he's not worthy. Get what I did there? See? Forget it. Bad joke. All right, Clemson and Texas, second game from Austin. Longhorns at 12, 50.5. Clemson, the only 3-loss team in this field.
The most surprising number, 91% of the money is on the under here, even though 56% of the tickets is on the over.
It's the only place it's not freezing.
Yeah, seriously. Clemson has been showing a little grit down the stretch. Klubenek's come up clutch. And, what we know about Texas is they beat the teams that aren't in Georgia. 77% of the money is on Texas to win, 91% of the tickets is on the Longhorns to win. 58% of the spread money is on Texas. And this one, we're talking 5 tickets separating the sides on the spread. It is 50.001% of the spread tickets is on Clemson, with 49.009 of the spread tickets on Texas. So right now it is right down the middle on the spread in terms of tickets.
And then Tennessee and Ohio State, a lot of people think that Ryan Day's coaching for his job, which is still just bizarre to me, but that's how Ohio State feels. This game, this is right around the key number as well, Troy. We're looking at Ohio State at 7, and these two really, really strong defenses, a total at 46.5.
Yeah, this seems to be like a pros versus Joes betting game. We got 53% of the money is on Tennessee to win, but 66% of the tickets is on Ohio State. You look at the spread, 56% of the spread money is on Ohio State, but 66% of the spread tickets is on Tennessee. So it's really back and forth in terms of tickets on one going one way and money on one going the other way. But again, another under game. 78% of the under money is 78% of the over-under money is on the under, and 55% of the tickets is on the under as well. So, as we see in every sport, the games get more important, things get a little bit more tight. Not as the game slows down, not as many points scored. I think that might be the case, but I don't know if that was the case during the BCS Bowls last year, the college football playoff. I think there could be some points scored, but yeah, this is one where it seems to be that the public, at least from a money perspective, is back in Tennessee, which people seem to like. In Ohio State, their fans want Ryan Day out, is what it seems like. And the thing that they do not want, which is kind of ironic, is a lot of Ohio State fans do not want them to make a run because, it's like Daniel Jones wins the playoff game, and then they give him a contract, and the Giants had to keep him around. When if he had just lost, then they probably would have gotten rid of him then. If Ryan Day wins, makes it to the national championship game, Ohio State fans are going to have to deal with him with probably more than one season, even though they don't even want him to come back, even though the AD has said he is returning.
I say it's bizarre, Troy, but I've done the post-game show for LSU football for years, and there's one phone call I remember more than anyone else in the whole 25 years I've been doing it, and it was in 2007 after the game, and a guy called up and he said, I hate that LSU won the national championship because now we're stuck with Les Miles. Hand to God, that's exactly what he said. I remember the phone call like it was yesterday. So I can't throw stones at Ohio State fans because the fans here say the same thing.
Yeah, and it's true in a lot of aspects. Even in the NFL, you want your. I've been so high on the Panthers the last few weeks is because they're doing the right thing. They're playing really well. They're covering the spread, but they're ultimately losing the game, so they're not sacrificing draft capital for wins that don't mean anything. And it's a similar kind of aspect where it's like you want to win, but don't win the games that will mean you have to stay longer. I think all these games are going to be great. I'm really interested to see how the weather impacts it. I think, the message board, the stuff around Tennessee, Ohio State is going to be massive. So it should be a very fun Saturday.
Troy, quick question. I know the college football playoff will get a lot of attention around here, probably more than the NFL games, but it's obviously a great day of football across Saturday with two very good NFL games. What's the ratio going to look like, you think, on Bet Rivers between the NFL action and college football playoff across the country?
That is a great question. Right now, we've taken, let's see, the Chiefs play the Texans on Saturday, and what else? The Steelers-Ravens. So, we've taken, similar money on the Chiefs-Texans game to the Tennessee-Ohio State game. Pittsburgh, right now, the Ravens-Steelers game would rank, if you put all those games together, would rate as the lowest game in terms of total money taken. So I think, and it's not an NFL fatigue thing, even though this time of year they play basically on every day of the year or every day of the week. I think, at least leading up to it, there will be more pregame money on the three Saturday college football games than at least one of the NFL games. However, I think once the game kicks off and the fact that player props, the NFL has it, college football doesn't have it. We may have limited player props in limited markets, but player props at college sports is going to be a thing of the past very soon because of liability and players, basically, gaming the system. So with player props and just the amount of bets we offer, I think it will end up leaning back to the NFL. But in terms of pregame spread, moneyline, over/under, I think it's going to be pretty even, if not more, leaning in the favor of college football.
Wow. Troy, real quick, we got about a minute. Anything on either of the FCS games tomorrow? South Dakota State and North Dakota State, or South Dakota, Montana State?
Yeah, we've taken a decent amount of handle on the battle between the Dakotas and leaning towards North Dakota State. That should be a really good one for people who are interested in FCS football. I love the tournament they play. And so, but I think also people who like to bet a little bit blindly throw money at North Dakota State, because how can you not? They consistently are playing on, FCS Saturdays or FBS Saturdays. They're consistently beating lower tiered Big 12 teams. So we see that them in terms of, we do take futures on the FCS tournament, and we typically, regardless of how good North Dakota State is, we take a good amount of money on them. Not a massive amount, but they are always the lion's share of the money there. But right now, that is North Dakota State to win is the most wagered on game from this crop of FCS tournament games this weekend.
Troy, have a Merry Christmas to you and your family. Good luck with the move. Good luck tomorrow, and we'll look forward to talking with you next week.
Yeah, you guys do the same. We'll talk to you down the road.
All right, thanks a lot. Troy Macker from Bet Rivers. We're brought to you by Home Bank, Louisiana-based community bank since 1908 for your business and personal banking solutions with terrific CD rates right now. Your opportunity to get in for low minimum balances, short-term and long-term, with great CD rates right now. Talk to one of the local bankers in any Baton Rouge location, corporate, Sherwood Forest, Longform Village, and Bluebonnet. You can also find Home Bank locations in Acadiana, New Orleans, and North Shore, Natchez, and Houston. Visit home24bank.com for more information. Home Bank, member FDIC. We'll take a break. Lots of scoring going on here in the last few minutes. Ohio 14 and Jacksonville State 7 at the Cure Bowl in Orlando. Live at lunch from Rufino's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And return here at Rufino's. Come by and see us for lunch here today. Everybody in a festive holiday spirit. We got the Cure Bowl on right now. Ohio has really dominated this game with the exception of one play. They've outrushed them pretty much 10-1. But Jacksonville State made one play, one big play, one pass from Tyler Huff to Cam Vaughn for 75 yards that cut the lead in half. So it's now 14-7 at the end of the first quarter. Second game today is Tulane and Florida. That game is at 2:30 from Tampa. Florida is a 10-point favorite in that one. And then, of course, the playoff game tonight where Notre Dame is 6.5. And that game starts at 7 o'clock at Notre Dame Stadium, where it will probably not be snowing, but it's damn sure going to be cold. All right, hour number 2 is straight ahead. Bruce Marshall checks in with us when we return here at Rufino's live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Rufino's, hour number 2, as we continue to watch the bowl game, 14-7 Ohio with the lead there. Come on by and see us here at Rufino's. The Italian sausage manicotti, one of the appetizer features today, along with chicken and sausage gumbo. Chilean sea bass, one of your entree features today. Also the Wagyu New York strip and Laura Bell's pecan pie. Ice cream on the top. You got to have vanilla ice cream if you have pecan pie. Let's bring in Bruce Marshall. Bruce, happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you, wherever it is you may be. I think we caught you traveling again, but how are you?
Happy holidays. I just had a bagel for breakfast, by the way, so I envy where you guys are.
We keep inviting you, so you got free.
I'll get there soon enough, but I tell you, I was so excited to see that free kick last night by the Chargers, not because they made it, because I was sort of on Denver last night, but just to see the free kick come back. Again, I can't believe it had been 48 years since the last one was converted successfully in the NFL. I remember a lot more of those being tried in the late 60s and early 70s. I mean, it's at the end of a half. I mean, I saw that unfolding before it happened, but I don't know that Jim Harbaugh even knew about it until it looked like he had to take the timeouts and somebody explained to him on the sideline what they could do. But in that situation, it's a great weapon. And I really, that game turned around the momentum then, and that interference on the fair catch was bad by Denver. Sean Payton, should have just ran the ball. They didn't need an incomplete pass on that second down to stop the clock. Just going at halftime up 21-10, and that turned that whole thing around last night at SoFi.
I knew the rule. I told a story at the beginning of the show about a high school classmate who was trying to get our coach to let him drop kick a ball in a game and kind of stumbled across the rule. And so we'd been kind of waiting to see it. We had a few questions. Let's do real quick. If he makes tying or record-setting field goal, does it count? What if he'd made one from 70? That counts. Are you going to put an asterisk next to that?
Well, they could, but it counts. It's a field goal. That's how it goes into the book, and it makes so much sense in that situation to try it. You're not facing a rush. Now, it does have to be held like a regular field goal or extra points. You're not kicking it off a tee. But
that was the other question. That was the other question. We didn't know if you could kick it off a tee.
Yeah, it's a straight shot, and there's no pass rush coming at him. And in that situation, at the end of a half, it's got to be after the fair catch, and it makes a lot of sense. And I've seen situations in recent years where I thought that should have been used, and I swear the announcers don't know about it and the coaches don't know about it. But finally, that was a situation last night, and the perfect time to use it. And a guy like Dicker, he might have made, if he could make a 70-yard free kick field goal. I think he's that good. But 57 was duck soup for him.
It really was, and I'm thinking about Aubrey and Bates. These guys, I think, could probably make one from beyond 70 on a free kick like this. We see those balls sail out of the end zone with plenty.
Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm, Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Of room to spare all the time, so you're not likely to see it again anytime soon, because now that it's been publicized, the next time a team's in that position, they're not going to want to punt the football. They're going to run that clock. They're going to be conscious of it, I would think. So really unique circumstances to have that come up again. All right, we've spent a bunch of time with that this morning. Let's get to the game tonight. We've been monitoring this line movement that has gone past the key number of 7, Bruce, and Notre Dame now a 6.5-point favorite tonight against the Hoosiers.
I'm laying the points tonight. I love this Indiana story this year, and we've talked about it before, and I think Signetti is going to be Coach of the Year. And all we talked about Indiana through the year, Rourke was a great portal ad. They were destroying teams. They only trailed in one game, which was the Ohio State game, and that was the game. Well, they might have trailed against Michigan State early, and then they came back, roared back in that game. But they didn't respond well against Ohio State, though that was sort of a fluky game. I mean, the punt return turned that whole thing around, and just sort of you saw Indiana sag after that in the third quarter. But the Hoosiers really never, except Ohio State. I'm not even sure this is a great Ohio State, offense this year. I mean, they really didn't have to face all that much. And now, and play from behind, they rarely had to do that. I think that's probably going to happen here tonight. Notre Dame has balance on offense. Riley Leonard is not the most accurate passer, but he certainly is a playmaker. And I think they're going to challenge and stretch this Indiana defense like maybe only Ohio State did to them this year, and I think Notre Dame might be a little better than Ohio State even. But it's that Notre Dame defense and Ohio State has it's a second-ranked defense in the country, and they took care of Indiana pretty good. But Notre Dame is a top 10 defense too, and what Al Golden has done there and resurrected his career as a defensive mastermind there at South Bend is truly remarkable, at least in his regard. And this team forces defense. They are very tough to run against. They've got ball hawks in the secondary. They are healthier now. They had a few injuries this year, so they developed some more depth. And this is one, I think the favorite's going to win this game and cover it. Notre Dame belongs here, and I still wonder about Indiana. I know by the parameters of this selection process you had to put them in, but I am not sold they're a top 12 team in the country. And we'll find out if I'm right tonight. I'm going to take Notre Dame. I'm going to lay the points.
All right, Notre Dame minus 6.5. Let's move on. The first game tomorrow is SMU and Penn State. Locally here, we're showing at the Queen, we're showing Penn State 8.5. What say you on the Mustangs and the Nittany Lions?
Well, I have sort of similar thinking here. It took me a while to come around to where I was at on this game because I like the whole SMU story. I like the fact of a long shot team coming in here. I like watching SMU play. They're very fun. I think Lashley made a very bold move and the right move early in the season, going to Jennings at quarterback, a real playmaker. He had to, all the talk was Preston Stone coming into this year. He put up some good numbers last year, but he made the switch because he knew this offense would be better off with Jennings once he got comfortable, and it was pretty apparent early that was the way to go. And Richard Smith, running back, they've got a lot of weapons they can use on offense. However, once again, this is a team, again, by the parameters of this thing, I suppose you had to put SMU in there. I am not convinced this is a top 12 team in the country. Their schedule was pretty favorable this year in the ACC when it was on the line for them against Clemson. They weren't ready to play at the start of that game, and Clemson jumped on them early. That told me a little something. I know they came back, but their defense is going to get stretched here. And Penn State, although, Kotelnicki added a lot more wrinkles to this offense this year, they can still run the ball with Singleton and Allen very well. They both went over 100 yards against Oregon. He's got Tyler Warren, who is this year's Brock Bowers. The weather conditions are going to be dicey in State College tomorrow in Happy Valley. Some snow flurries, temperatures in the 20s, not necessarily SMU weather. I think, and we saw Penn State chase Oregon last week, and I know Oregon, or 2 weeks ago, and I know Oregon, scored 45 in that game and probably could have scored more. But I don't think SMU is Oregon, and Penn State is just going to end up scoring too many points in this game. Maybe an over, but I'm also going to lay the points with Penn State.
All right, the only game that is being played outside of freezing temperatures or over freezing temperatures is in Austin, Texas tomorrow. Here at the Queen, we're showing 12.5 with Texas against Clemson, the only 3-loss team in the field.
Yeah, and here's an underdog I'm actually going to recommend here. I think they're the only team really here playing with house money, and I think they're Clemson's a little interesting here, a little more dangerous, I think, than some of the other, maybe SMU in this field, just because Clemson's been here before, played a lot of big games. Klubnik, listen, since the Georgia game, his numbers have been spectacular. 4 TD passes against SMU in the ACC title game 2 weeks ago. He's up to 33 on the year now. He is back in Texas, although not all. He's a Metroplex product, so this is a big deal for him coming back there. But Dabo's played a lot of these games before, and this team is really playing with house money right now, and they came out loose against SMU. I really like that, throwing caution to the wind, and I think that's exactly the sort of team Texas does not need to face here. Listen, they only covered 2 of their last 7 against the spread. One of those was against a Florida team that was playing its third quarterback. I just get the feeling Texas isn't tapping everything here, and especially at home where the fans, for some reason, they think Arch Manning is Elvis, and they are not that appreciative of Quinn Ewers. The pressure sort of gets to them there. I've seen too many times this year where I thought Texas could have been playing better, and I saw that with them last year too. And the schedule broke great for them last year. They didn't get Oklahoma in the Big 12 title game, then they laid an egg against Washington in the playoff. This year, schedule, we know it broke very well for them this year, and they couldn't even hang on against Georgia when they knocked out Carson Beck, although maybe that worked well for Georgia in the SEC title game. I think Clemson's very live here, and I think Texas should be on upset alert. I do not think this is any super team at all. I'm taking Dabo tomorrow plus the points.
The amount of points that Texas has scored against, Georgia is really good, but against Texas A&M and against Arkansas, this is all in the last month of the season. You can't top 20 points against any of those teams. I'm dubious about laying 12.5, so I'm with you on that one. Final game at the Shoe, also freezing temperatures in Columbus, Ohio State and Tennessee. Now, this number has come down a little bit, Bruce. Here locally at the Queen, we're showing Ohio State is 7 and a total of 46.5.
Yeah, I've been a little harsh on Ryan Day. I know. I don't know that I've ever seen a big coach with as little charm or grace as him. But he had an interview with Joel Platt a while back. He didn't sound all that bad, so maybe I've been a little harsh on him. And I think this talk about him maybe losing his job, I just think that's media talk there. I can't believe Ohio State would actually do that. But like we've talked about earlier this year, I'm not sure that he made the right moves in the offseason. And we talked about this too last week and the week before. Bringing McCord. Letting McCord go and bringing in Will Howard was not a real upgrade at quarterback. I mean, this offense, they had Fields and they had Stroud for a several-year stretch there. So they had dynamic quarterback play and dynamic weapons to use. And, they just don't have that. They've got a good quarterback. They don't have a great one. And this offense, the mistakes we saw them make this year, this is not an offense that's out there scoring 40, 50, unless you're playing Purdue or somebody. I mean, they struggled against Penn State. They struggled against Michigan. I think they're going to be struggling again against this big, fast Tennessee defense. What I'm concerned about, the Vols, is Nico. He did lead him back against Vandy in that last game, and that was in Nashville. Not much of a road game, but still away from Neyland Stadium this year, he did not post great numbers. And that's got me a little bit worried. But they do have Sampson to run the ball. They can do some things on the ground. And this defense is very nasty. So my first call here would be an under. 46.5, I think we're looking at now. I don't think it gets that high unless they're getting an overtime. And I'd probably take Tennessee here, too. I don't think it would be a big shock if they won this game. This is not a great Ohio State team. And Ohio State maybe would have been better off playing away from home. I really believe that in this game. The pressure really builds on them. And you saw that the collar get really tight in that Michigan game. They just couldn't execute when they had to in the fourth quarter. That might be the same scenario we see tomorrow in the Big Horseshoe.
They hate Ryan Day that much, really? I can remember when they were so good at quarterback that a guy named Joe Burrow couldn't get on the field. It's obviously not that, which benefited us down here greatly. But, again, I'm just going to 66-10, 46-5 in the league. I don't know. I don't think he's given credit enough for what you're doing right. Again, he took over for Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's not Nick Saban, but he's the second best coach in the last 25 years in college football, regardless of his off-the-field shenanigans. I mean, that was a pretty big ask to come in behind that guy, and it was pretty seamless. And it certainly wasn't seamless at Alabama this year. In my mind, it's like, okay, well, we're Ohio State. All the other wins are automatic. We're going to judge you solely on your record against Michigan. Look, it ain't my money, but I wouldn't run him out of there with that record.
No, neither would I. I mean, he's won a lot, and they've been close. And, it did stick in their craw to lose to Michigan, but I don't know that I can't envision them actually doing that unless they really get boat raced here, which I don't think is going to happen. But I think Dade, though, did make a few errors. It's not enough to fire him for. But and one other thing, they're talking about this payroll, which is about the Pittsburgh Pirates payroll they've got for Ohio State. But really, I mean, listen, they've had blue chippers there for years. The talent isn't any better just because you're paying them in nil. You're paying them above the table. Some of these guys are getting paid below the table before. So I think that excuse, the Ohio State people say, well, look how much we're paying for this roster. Your players aren't any better than you had 5-10 years ago when Urban was there. So this thought that just because it's nil, the players are better, you're paying them money. A place like Ohio State, no, you've always had great players, so that shouldn't be entering into the equation. But I do know the expectations are through the roof in Columbus.
Any opinions on either of the FCS games tomorrow, Bruce?
Who we got going tomorrow?
South Dakota State, North Dakota State, and then South Dakota and Montana State. I didn't prep you for that, so if you don't, it's okay. I know you like to go off the beaten path sometimes. So
well, can I give you some college hoops a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
There's one coming up here in the Mohegan Sun. They're playing. This is what's happening in these college tournaments. This is a MEAC and SWAC tournament. Now, Norfolk State is not all that bad. They're playing Grambling, who you guys know about there, and they're playing at 3 p.m. Central, so an earlier tip-off. Norfolk State ain't bad. I would take Norfolk State in that game. They got a transfer guard in, Moore from Murray State, who is pretty good. Tonight, watch this one. St. John's, Rick Pitino returns to Providence to play the Friars, and I'm not sure about Bryce Hopkins' status. He's only played a few games for Providence this year. St. John's looks like a real contender to me, and they made some really nice portal ads there, including Kaderi Richmond coming in from Seton Hall. So I like Patino there. And the best game of the night is in Cincinnati. This is not at the Bearcats Arena. This is the downtown arena next to the Red Stadium. Dayton comes in. It's a short ride from Dayton, about 45 miles down to Cincy. Dayton's getting a few points against the Bearcats. We saw Dayton against in Maui impress. We saw them beat Marquette last week. They might have been looking ahead against UNLV the other night, but I would take Dayton plus a few points tonight. This is a really good team, and that's the best game of the night tonight in the Queen City.
All right, got those. And anything in the NFL, either for Saturday or Sunday, that you particularly are enamored with?
Well, mentioning Joe Burrow a second ago, the Bengals have a little hope here now because they get the Browns here, and DTR is starting at quarterback, not Jameis Winston. Too many mistakes, but this offense has never moved with DTR. So I think the Bengals handle that number. But the Bengals get Denver next week, and then Denver's got to play Kansas City in the last game. Again, Kansas City might still have to win, so it's not impossible. The Bengals could win out, and Denver loses out, and the Bengals slip into the playoffs. It is possible. So I would lay the points with Cincinnati into this one, and I might look over Rams and Jets. The Jets are still, firing away with Aaron Rodgers, and the Rams are playing pretty good. I don't think this total is high enough. I think it's going to be an entertaining game at MetLife over Rams and Jets Sunday.
Bruce, Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for being with us all these years, and every Friday we look forward to talking to you. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the holiday, and we will talk to you next week.
Happy holidays. Thank you much.
Thanks a lot, Bruce Marshall out in Las Vegas. We're brought to you by Total Maintenance, AC and heating, generators, electricity, plumbing, Total Maintenance, your one-stop sales and service shop for all of these needs. One of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC and heating companies since 1980. Their slogan, service today, every day. Listen, man, if you're here during the holidays and the heat in their AC unit's not working, you don't want to have to wait. You got people coming over to the house. Listen, you're going to get Total Maintenance in there on the spot, on that day. Service today, every day. Also in New Orleans as well as Baton Rouge, full staffs in both markets. They're an authorized dealer for Carrier, American Standard, Daycan and Rheem, AC units, Generac and Cummins generators. All your electrical and plumbing needs as well. In Baton Rouge, 480-1000. In New Orleans, 841-3300. Service today, every day at Total Maintenance. We'll take a break. Ohio has scored again, but they had the extra point blocked, so that score at the Cure Bowl is now 20-7 late in the first half. Live at lunch from Rufino's, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this: everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Charles Hannegriff's 5-pack of picks. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Make sure you use Louisiana rice, grown by Louisiana farmers since 1936. Available at most local grocery stores. Supreme Rice.
So, Max, you got the You got the standings. I know I'm beating Jimmy pretty bad, right?
I know you're beating me by a lot more. So.
Well, it's okay. Jimmy and I were tied last week, and I ended up beating him by, I think, a game, maybe 2. So I'm beating him by a lot.
You're above 500. He's above 500.
Yeah, when it gets that late in the season, and you're, a 2-game lead in the loss column doesn't seem like a lot until it's like the last week of the season, and then it becomes a lot. So I'm going to say I think I got him by 2 games going into the last one. We were 37. Yeah, I got 3-2, and he was 1-4. Yeah, I got him by 2 games going into the end. So let me see if I can protect my lead here a little bit. I'm going with Indiana, plus the 6.5. I would have loved to have gotten this in yesterday. As a matter of fact, from my counting stats, when the dollars go out, I do have them plus 7.5. I actually got a parlay with 8 too, but that was weeks ago. So I'm going to take them plus the 6.5. Everybody's going to rag on Indiana about the Ohio State game. Let me tell you a couple things about the Ohio State game. This was not exactly as wide of a margin, in my opinion, as what ended up being on the scoreboard. What happened at the end of the first half? You had 3, in the beginning of the second half, you had 3 really significant plays, and they're all a little bit flukish. One of them was Rourke's fumble that set up Ohio State for a short field for a touchdown. The second one was the punter dropping the ball, and this ends up giving Ohio State a short field for a touchdown. And then the last play, of course, is the punt return for the touchdown. And that, it's kind of, I don't want to say flukish, but it's kind of flukish. It's not something that's likely to repeat itself. So you can't take away those 3 plays, but don't tell me that Indiana couldn't do anything against Ohio State. If you punt the football there, if the punter gets a fair catch, then you're talking about more like a 7 to 10-point game, in my opinion. That's what I watched. So I'm going to take Indiana here plus the points. I think Notre Dame will probably win the game, but I think it'll be close. I think the cold weather will be a factor. It'll keep the score down a little bit. So I'm going to take the points with the Hoosiers plus 6.5. I'm going to take SMU plus. We're showing 8.5 at the Queen, so we're going to take SMU and the points here. This is based on one big thing for me, and that's James Franklin. And James Franklin has had enough big games. We're going to count this as a big game, right? It's not against Ohio State or Michigan, but this is a big game for Penn State. And every time they get in a big game, Franklin does something that screws Penn State up. They just don't win these games very often. I don't know that SMU's is powerful as some of those Big Ten teams that we're talking about, but I know that they can score. And I know that Kevin Jennings is a monster when he starts running the football. I'm going to take SMU in these points. Again, I like Penn State to probably win. Again, it's cold. Maybe a close game, a one-score game. I'm just going to take 8.5 points. I think that's too many, and I'll go with the non-big game, James. I'm going with SMU.
And I'll help you out. DraftKings up to 9.
9. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, going to take Clemson plus. I was showing 12.5 before the break. Is that right? 12.5. Okay. I've cited this stat a number of times this week, but Texas just is not scoring a whole lot of points. Fine, you don't score against Georgia. That's a really good defense. You scored 17 against Texas A&M. You scored 20 against Arkansas. You scored 27 against Vanderbilt. I'm sorry, Quinn Ewers is just not playing all that well. He's not playing terrible, but if you're talking about laying 12.5 points to the team that's got, in my opinion, significantly the better quarterback. Cade Klubnik has been playing really well the last month of the season. He's made a lot of big plays with his feet. I think Texas probably wins this game, but again, who have they beaten all year? A&M is their best win. Well, that's a nice win. It's something LSU couldn't do, but it's not the be-all and get-all. I think Texas probably wins a close game, but I'm going to take 12.5 points with Clemson. And then in the final game, I'm going to take Tennessee. Plus 7 now, showing before the break. You still
7?
Okay, would appreciate another half point, but que sera. Again, where was Ohio State's offense when they played somebody with a pulse? They scored 10 points against Michigan. They scored 20 points against Penn State and had a defensive score in that one. They scored 21 points against Nebraska. I don't care how many they scored against Purdue and Northwestern. And I just told you how they got to 38 against Indiana. I just don't see where they're going to put – this is a very good Tennessee defense. Think of what you want about Nico. And I don't know what you're going to get out of him. It's the biggest game he's ever played in, and it's on the road. Hell, I don't know. The Ohio State fans are so pissed off right now. They might pull for Tennessee. They want Ryan Day out of there so bad. I'm only exaggerating a little bit. But this is too many points. If Ohio State wins this game, I think it'll be by a field goal. So I'm going to take Tennessee plus the 7 points. And probably my favorite play out of the 5 is in this game, the under in 46.5. Is that still holding? 46.5.
46.
46. You're going to hook me to death, aren't you? 46. I just don't see where there's going to be a lot of points scored. These are 7 of the 8 teams that are playing in the playoffs tomorrow have top 10 defenses in yards per play against. The only one that doesn't is Clemson. I think this is a slobber knocker. It's freezing in Columbus. I think this is going to be a slobber knocker. I think this game finishes, probably 16-13 or something along those lines. And, I'm going to take Tennessee in the points, and I think it goes way under that total of 46.5. So all dogs. Give me Indiana, give me SMU, give me Clemson, give me Tennessee. I think every one of them has certainly a puncher's chance, if maybe not a little bit better than that, to win. And like Tennessee and Ohio State to stay under the total of 46.
All right. Well, I've got some catching up
This
to
is
do.
usually where Jimmy tells me what I'm doing wrong. So, you have any opinions? Tell me what I'm doing wrong.
If you want me to tell you what I'm doing wrong, that's probably a good sign for you.
Yeah, okay.
I was just doing the math on my record. I'll say 34-40-1 this year. So I'm a ways behind. Got some work to do. I might go against
Championship hangover.
Championship hangover. That's certainly a factor. And then I think I might just go opposite you, just so I can catch up. We'll find out later. But
okay.
Yeah. Tennessee, I'm a little and this is a big storyline here, but, their pass rush can probably get home. Ohio State's got some injuries. Their center's hurt, out for the year. That's a problem for them. So the front 7, can they be a factor? Ohio State, they've got to have some quick passes ready to go because, to be honest, my thoughts this entire season have been that Tennessee's secondary is very vulnerable. I don't think their secondary is that good, but thankfully their front 7 is enough to where oftentimes they don't get exposed. Are they able, Chip Kelly, he had a terrible offensive game.
Hey, guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun, too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun, Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free, and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back, and we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Playing against Michigan. Awful. I mean, just
everything was between the guards.
It was brutal. But if they can just get the ball out quickly, I like Will Howard personally. I know people have been critical of him, and he slid against Oregon, and he's had some big hiccups, some interceptions in that Michigan game. But if they can just get rid of the ball quickly, I do think they're going to have some success against this Tennessee secondary. And I don't know how Nico and that offense are going to be able to keep up. So I kind of see the point of the under in Tennessee, but I do think there is a path for success for the Buckeye offense. So,
all right, that qualifies. I'm taking Tennessee. You go ahead. You take Ohio State. There's a lot of support for just the straight favorites across the board, and even into next week, and I think some of that maybe in next week for sure, is that most people believe that Boise State and Arizona State should not have gotten byes, should not be seated where they're seated. I can understand that. Certainly the format needs some tweaking, and probably will get it in the offseason. But for the moment, I'm gonna ride with these dogs. These were good football teams throughout the year, and I'm gonna take what is a bunch of points. A bunch of points.
I'll tell you, the sports books are certainly sweating. They hope that one of these dogs can win outright because there are going to be a lot of parlays with all the favorites, and I think it's quite plausible. I mean, you're getting plus 180 on a parlay of all 4 favorites right now. So
I like I like the idea of being against the public for one thing. By the way, if you take all 4 dogs to win outright, plus 19,000. Just, hey. Stranger things have happened, right?
190 to 1. That would be a hell of a stocking stuffer.
If you got $5 laying around, I mean, if you got $10 that you're not doing anything with, if somebody gives you a bonus bet or something, something to think about. We're brought to you by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, helping you deal with pain. Dr. Michael Goff and his staff have done a great job for our family. Aches and pains, things that cropping up, maybe from an old sports injury, an old automobile accident. What they can do for you is they can pinpoint, target those problem areas, get you to feeling better, get you to moving around better, get you a better night's sleep. I've seen them do it for me firsthand. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to probably get you into an exercise and stretching program that could just do the trick, but past that, cryotherapy, ultrasound therapy, the dry needling, electric nerve stimulation. They've got all kinds of different techniques they can use to get you to feeling better. Back pain, neck pain, muscle soreness. Help them out, Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, Airline Highway, Plank Road, Jefferson Highway near Drusilla. Jimmy did send us some picks. We'll get that, plus an opinion from Paul Stone on Texas and Clemson. I do believe Paul Stone knows a little bit about the University of Texas. We'll get that when we come back here live at lunch from Rufino's 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jimmy Ott's 5-pack of picks, brought to you by Supreme Rice. Make sure you use Louisiana rice, grown by Louisiana farmers since 1936. Available at most local grocery stores. Supreme Rice.
All right, Jimmy, a little under the weather today, trying to get himself well for the weekend. We've got a big day tomorrow, but he did send us his 5 picks. Real quick from the Cure Bowl, Jacksonville State misses a 35-yard field goal off the left upright, so the score remains 20-7 Ohio, under 2 minutes to go in the first half. All right, the first game Jimmy's got here, Max, is Tulane. That's a 2:30 game from Tampa. Florida is a 10-point favorite. He's going to take Tulane in the points. I'm against him on this one. I like the Gators. Darian Mensah is gone. So Ty Thompson will start at quarterback. You like him, though, a little bit.
Well, he's a former 5-star. You know how that is. Former 5-star, what does that really mean?
That is not why Jimmy's betting.
Actually catching 10.5. But he's a mobile quarterback. Ran in a lot of packages this year. I mean, he actually got quite a bit of playing time running exclusively. So we'll see if Florida's prepared for that. But a little bit of opt-outs.
Was he the starter at the beginning of training camp, or was it the other guy?
I will say Phil Steele had him as a projected starter, but Mensah ends up beating him out.
And there was another guy, right? Because Mensah was 13 when he got there in August.
Yeah, Kai Horton was someone who had played previously.
I think he played in the bowl game last year, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. All right, so he likes Tulane, plus a 10.5 there. SMU, with me on that one, plus the 9 points. We talked about that game. He also likes under in Ohio State, Tennessee. That's one of my picks. I think we've got 2 picks that are the same. Almost guarantees me. Hey, look, I didn't tell him what I was picking. He didn't tell me what he's picking. A couple of games that he picked that we did not pick if you're going into next week. The first one is UTSA. This is unique, Max. UTSA is playing Coastal Carolina in the Myrtle Beach Bowl at Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, this is in Conway, South Carolina, so it's essentially a home game for Coastal. The problem is they don't have hardly any players. There are 2 quarterbacks they use this year.
That is a problem.
Noah Kim, Ethan Vasco in the portal. It sounds like Tim Beck, their head coach, is going to go to Tad Hudson, a redshirt freshman. He mentioned somebody else. He joked with reporters that maybe they could try out as a backup quarterback. So they're down bad. They've got a lot of players in the portal. UTSA, they've got a couple themselves, but Jeff Traylor says that most players will be available for the bowl game, and even some in the portal are traveling with the team. So this is a player availability thing, if I'd have to guess, for Jimmy.
All right, UTSA is currently, we're showing minus 10, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, 10. All right, and then his final pick is Pitt. This is against Toledo. Well, it's the one up at Ford Field. This used to be the Quicken Loans. It's the game above sports, whatever that is. Pitt is a 7-point favorite here.
Yeah, a little question on the starting quarterback, Eli Holstein, whether he'll be good to go. He missed the finale with an injury. We'll see if he's back. It sounds like they're a little optimistic he'll come back, but that's not a guarantee. I would assume the play here for Jimmy is expecting Holstein to play. Not a whole lot of opt-outs in this game from what we can see so far, but who knows how that goes.
Is it just me, or I'm noticing a lot less opt-outs? A lot of transfer portal guys, but and a lot of them are playing, which is unusual, I guess.
This was a rarity last year. There were a couple of teams that let their transfer portal guys play during the bowl game. We're seeing a little bit more of that. I think it just depends on the coach. I can't tell you any coach that's come around from their position that they didn't let them play last year and they did so far this bowl season. But there have been a couple, I believe Western Kentucky was one that last year played their portal guys. They did it again this year. So we'll see if we see that list grow a little bit in terms of coaches who let their portal guys play.
I think Brian Kelly kind of left it up to, well, not the portal guys, but like Braden Swinson is playing in this game. Kyron Lacey isn't. So I don't even know if Brian Kelly's got a blanket policy. It seems like it's been more of a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, the draft is always going to be a little bit more player-by-player. But, yeah, the portal, it's hard to follow. Since it gives you an opportunity to bet these games, you'd think, get a little value, but also you got to be aware because I can't tell you how many times in bowl season I've seen a graphic pop up right before the game. These players are out, and you had no idea the entire time. It wasn't reported on. It's just the TV crew gets this, and they put it up a minute before kickoff. So.
That's dirty pool, man. That's just dirty pool. All right, Paul Stone, he of Texas roots, has an opinion on Texas and Clemson in the playoffs tomorrow. Let's hear from Paul.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back. And we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this: everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
You're listening to Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
Yeah, clearly this is not the great, on a parallel of the great Clemson teams of 5, 6, 7 years ago when they were challenging for and winning national championships on a regular basis. But the number, I thought it would be 10, maybe 9, 9.5. It's just a little bit too juicy for me to pass up. Much of that due to Texas's recent struggles in red zone offense. They're only averaging on the season less than 2 yards per carry in the red zone. So you do certainly average, fewer yards running the ball and throwing the ball in the red zone because things are compressed and the defense is tighter. But that's just not, that's not a good thing from Texas' standpoint. They have struggled in that red zone. Clemson, they don't have the greatest of defenses, but they still have some elite type talent. They've got Peter Woods, a defensive tackle, a former 5-star, Sammy Brown, another guy who was a 5-star linebacker. So they do have some people there. Again, Texas moving the ball between the 20s, but not so much in the red zone. They've only averaged 21 points in regulation in their last 4 games, those being games against Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M, and, of course, Georgia in the SEC title game. To compound Texas's scoring issues, Bert Auburn, their field goal kicker, he has the yips right now. He's missed 4 field goals in the Longhorns' last 3 games. He's only this year from 40 yards and longer, 6 of 13, so 46%. The previous 2 seasons, 40 yards and longer, he was 18 of 25, 72%. So Auburn's got some kicking issues. Texas plays great defense. Obviously, I think they're the best in the country. 12.5 points allowed per game, only 3.8 yards per game. I think Clemson's going to keep this at 10 or less as far as the margin of victory. I do think Texas wins. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I like Clemson plus 11.5 and the correlated underplay under 51.5.
So Paul Stone likes the underdog with us here on Clemson for a Texas guy.
Clemson and the under.
Clemson
so
and the under as well.
Makes sense.
We're watching North Texas here. They've just scored again right before the end of the half.
Ohio.
What did I say?
North Texas.
North Texas.
Don't know how you got that one.
Green is what I was looking at. Ohio 27-7 now. Well, they're going to flag this extra points. They may have to do it again. The North Texas quarterback just went. He just went Mahomes.
Texas again.
I said it. The Ohio. I'm watching
Peter
this
Navarro, Ohio Bobcat.
Man, look, it's time to get to the break. Ohio 27. The extra point is good. The penalty was on Jacksonville State. Watch this play, Max. Not that people in radio, the radio audience can, but he just goes straight Mahomes. It's kind of like a shuffle pass over the top here to get North Texas. No, stop it, Ohio! Touchdown. I'm watching this green.
The
and white
mean
team.
green.
The mean green. I don't know. Just it's time to get to the weekend. Time to get to the weekend. We'll take a break. When we come back here, Max will give you his picks. That is when we return here at Ruffino's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
27-7 Ohio at the half at the Cure Bowl. All right, Max, take us home. Give us your 5-pack.
Fade accordingly, 34-40-1 on the year. Going to start off with today's college football game. Notre Dame minus 6.5 against Indiana. I'm finally getting some line movement here. I've been waiting on this one. Thought I'd take it at 7, but now it's down to 6.5. And I think Indiana, both these teams, their schedules weren't great. But I'm going to go ahead and say Jeremiah Love's at field goal. That's what I'm kind of expecting in this one. He's been in a boot throughout practice and things like that, but he is big, and if he plays at his full potential, I don't think Indiana will be able to stop him. I also like the over in this game, so a double play in this one, over 50.5. 51's a key number, so you're getting a good number on this one. The weather is not going to limit offense from what we've seen so far. The flurries, if they come down, might only help the over, to be honest. And I will give Curtis Rourke and this Indiana offense credit. I think if anything's inflated, I think it's the defense. I think Indiana's defense not playing anybody. They won't be ready for the physicality of Notre Dame. But I do think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit. So I expect Indiana to score points, but I think Notre Dame will be able to put up maybe 40 or something. I like Notre Dame and the over tonight.
Notre Dame and the over. All right, next.
Going to go to the FCS. Look, these playoff lines for the most part are pretty efficient. They're where they're supposed to be, so I've got to kind of avoid that. Plus, I kind of like SMU and Clemson like you, and I got to come back. So Montana State minus 9.5 in the FCS semifinal game against South Dakota. Montana State, the best team in the FCS. They deserve to win it all this year. They have blown out just about everybody they played. There was one game they played pretty close. They also beat an FBS team. Some of the power rankings that are out there, S&P Plus, have Montana State as about the 60th best team in the country. So they would be favored over a lot of FBS teams, and they already beat one this year in New Mexico. So I'll take Montana State. I'll lay 9.5. I think this will get to double digits before close.
2,000-yard rushers for Montana State.
Yeah, and you know what helps out? there's going to be offense in this game. Montana State's offense is not going to be exposed. What do you think? 56 is going to be the high tomorrow here in Baton Rouge. What do you think it's going to be there in Bozeman?
The high in Bozeman, I don't know, 30.
49, pretty good for them. So the
wave.
offense will be able to move the ball. Time him a lot. You heard Chris Massaro mention him earlier. He's a really good quarterback. Then we'll go into next week. So I won't see everybody until Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. Northern Illinois, -3 against Fresno State. They play on Monday. This game is the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Starting quarterback Mikey Keene, not expected to play. He's in the portal for Fresno State. A lot of players in the portal, and a new head coach. One of the things we've seen dating back to last year, 1 in 10 now, straight up, teams without their head coach going up against a team with their head coach. That's the case for Fresno, so a fade spot for them there. We did see, of course, UNLV won without their head coach, but that's an exception.
Cal's quarterback was gone.
Right, and then their backup, who was playing pretty well in the first half, got hurt during the game. So they were down their 4th string. So the exception there. I like Northern Illinois to win this game. I think they'll be motivated to win this one. And then Tuesday, South Florida, +3.5 in the Hawaii Bowl against San Jose State. Going all the way out from South Florida to Hawaii, but they're bringing most of the players with them. And Byron Brown may be back, their quarterback from the start of the season.
Notre Dame over, Montana State, Northern Illinois, and South Florida. Football Sunday from the Beau Rivage, 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. You think we'll have some stuff to discuss. And, of course, a huge day in the NFL. And we'll have a show on Monday, our final show before Christmas. For Jordan, for Max, for an ailing Jimmy Ott, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Merry Christmas, everybody. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN.
Every day when you log into ChumbaCasino.com, the ultimate online social casino, you get a free daily bonus. Imagine if you got daily bonuses in other parts of your life.
I chose French fries over loaded French fries.
I asked Stuart from accounting about his weekend, even though I don't care.
I updated my operating system without having to call tech support.
Collect your free daily bonus at ChumbaCasino.com now. And live the Chumba life.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.